she remarked, a faint note of annoyance in her voice. Shifting her attention back to you, her eyes met yours once again. I suppose it's a good opportunity to pause and rest for a while. No point in continuing to travel in the darkness.
Little rain doesn't hurt anybody. But let's go meet with the allies that are still left from our mission travels. For we have been here successful, and Mikola has already come to the godhood that he sought. And he is now part of my vision, and we are kind of an agreement.
Leda nodded her head in agreement, her gaze becoming more serious now. Indeed, we've been doing well in terms of our mission. We've been successful in our travels, and Mikella has achieved godhood successfully. She took a deep breath, her expression hardening as she continued. But you know Mikella. He can be a handful at times, and the negotiations, well, they can be challenging.
Well, he's basically a rat, so yeah.
Leda sighed softly, her expression turning into a mixture of fondness and frustration. He's young, idealistic, and stubborn, but he has a good heart. It's just that his methods can be a little misguided at times. She paused, her eyes locked onto your own. But that's why I'm here, to guide him and keep him on the path, even if it means having to deal with his stubbornness.
Let's go meet with Freya. She has already sought her knowledge from the castle of Mesmer, and she's now back to where she always was. Let's go meet with her. Just have a little interactions with the Thiolier and her before my journey is done. We should seek a way away from the land of shadows and return to the lands between together.
Leda nodded in agreement, a determined expression crossing her face. I see, very well, let's go meet with Fraser then. It is important that we all stay together. With that, she stood up and offered you her hand, a gesture of support and unity. We will visit the Thiolier, ensure that everything is in order, and then plan our return to the lands between together.
Hannes flied with his crest-chosen wings annoyingly very far away to meet with Freya, and Leda has to run to catch up.
Leda grumbled under her breath as she watched Hannes fly away, her annoyance only growing with each passing moment. She knew that catching up to him would be no small feat, especially by foot. Determined, Leda broke into a run, her legs pounding against the wet ground as she tried to close the distance between her and Hannes. Damn him. Always running ahead without a care in the world.
I repeat the action and go to the back to the place where we were. I want to repeat your running motion and force you run here and there, back and forth.
Leda gritted her teeth in frustration as you mimicked her action, forcing her to run back and forth. She let out a huff of annoyance, her irritation clear as day. This is ridiculous. Why are you making me run around like this?
You have to stay in a good health.
Leda rolled her eyes but couldn't help but twinge of gratitude at your concern. I suppose you have a point, she conceded begrudgingly, slowing down a bit to catch her breath. But still, there are better ways to keep me healthy, other than making me run around like a lunatic.
I summon my crucible wings and she's watching me like, don't.
What are you doing? She asked, her voice tinged with the slightest hint of apprehension.
Hannes summoned his crucible wings and is flying a little bit. He's about to go with a neck break speed, again very further apart, and make her run after him once again. She is watching him with her eyes narrowed.
Leda let out a frustrated growl as she watched Hannes summon his wings and take off once again. Her eyes narrowed as she prepared herself for another long run. This is becoming ridiculous, she muttered under her breath, her annoyance growing with each passing moment. As Hannes soared away, Leda let out a deep sigh before breaking into a run once more, her feet pounding against the ground as she tried to keep up with him.
Freya has already now gone from the library, returned to her spot. Now she's meeting with Freya, Leda and Hannes, who have made the Mikuella into God, and now they are just hanging out outside.
Frey leaned back against the rough stone steps of the library, her eyes scanning the tranquil garden before her. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cobblestones.
Nah, we are outside. We are not in the castle anymore. We are back where we first met, in the gate front.
Fraser nodded, realizing they had returned to the gatefront ruins. The tranquil garden was a far cry from the chaos of battle, but still, it felt familiar. A strange sense of comfort settling over her tired limbs.
And here is Leda with Hannes. The trio is just standing there.
Fraser couldn't help but chuckle softly. The trio looked like a comical sight, as if they had no clue what to do with themselves.
Freya, would you like to say hi to Leda?
Sure, I suppose.
Leda, who had finally caught up to Frasier, let out a relieved sigh. She wiped the beads of sweat from her forehead before glancing over at Hannes with a hint of annoyance. "You really enjoy making me run around, don't you?" she asked, her tone a mix of fond exasperation. Freya chuckled at the exchange, her eyes twinkling with amusement.
Fraser smirked, crossing her arms as she watched Hannes get scolded. Oh, absolutely. It's practically his hobby at this point. Leda sighed dramatically, hands on her hips. Well, I hope you're happy with yourself, Hannes. I nearly tripped over my own feet trying to catch up. Fraser couldn't help but chuckle louder, shaking her head. Honestly, I'm just impressed you managed to survive the journey.
Hannes chuckled, a sly smile on his face as he landed nearby. His wings retreated into his back as he approached the two women. "I admit it was quite fun watching you trying to keep up, Leda," he teased. Unable to resist poking fun at her, Leda rolled her eyes in response, but there was a hint of a smirk on her face, betraying her true feelings. "You're insufferable, you know that?" Leda shot Hannes a sharp look, half exasperated, half affectionate, before dramatically flipping her braid over her shoulder. "Oh, wonderful. My beloved husband's idea of romance is giving me cardio." Fraser snorted, leaning a nearby gravestone with a grin. "Could be worse. At least he didn't drag you through a swamp this time." Leda groaned, throwing her hands up. "Don't remind me about the swamp." She turned to Hannes, pointing an accusing finger. "You owe me for that one, and not in wings." Hannes, unfazed, just grinned wider. Fraser wheezed. "Oh, this is gold." Leda muttered something unflattering under her breath, but the ghost of a smirk betrayed her.
Fraser wiped a tear from her eye, still laughing at Leda's suffering. Honestly, Hannes, if you keep this up, Leda might just leave you one day. Leda crossed her arms, shooting Hannes a look that was equal parts done and amused. He wishes. Someone's got to keep him from wandering into actual danger. Hannes, ever the picture of innocence, or at least the illusion of it, shrugged. Wouldn't be fun otherwise. Fraser smirked, shaking her head. You two are made for each other mostly because no one else would tolerate this nonsense. Leda sighed dramatically, but the smile tugging at her lips gave her away. Unfortunately, Hannes just grinned, completely unrepentant.
Fraser chuckled, shaking her head at the couple's banter. "You two really are a match made in something. Possibly hell." Leda playfully shoved Fraser, rolling her eyes. "Says the one who spends her free time collecting rocks." Fraser smirked. "They're minerals." Leda folded her arms, raising an eyebrow. "Did you just say like a toddler?"
Yeah.
Fraser facepalm great.
Leda rolled her eyes again, her expression a perfect mix of annoyance and affection. "I swear, sometimes dealing with him is like herding cats." Fraser snorted. "Cats are less stubborn."
Leda nodded vehemently. That's an insult to felines. Hannes raised an eyebrow, mock offended.
Leda smirked, giving him an exaggerated once-over. "Barely. Half the time you're flying away like a startled pigeon." Freya lost it, doubling over with laughter. "Pigeon!" Hannes gasped dramatically, clutching his chest. "Betrayal. From my own wife." Leda patted his shoulder with faux sympathy. "Survival of the fittest, darling." Hannes narrowed his eyes, then suddenly scooped her up bridal style, wings flaring. Leda yelped. Fraser wheezed, wiping tears. "This is the best day." Leda groaned, resigned to her fate, but her laughter gave her away.
Fraser collapsed against a nearby gravestone, practically wheezing from laughter. Oh my god, your face, Leda. Leda shot her a dirty look over Hannes's shoulder. Oh, shut up. This is your fault. Hannes chuckled, shifting Leda in his arms. She clung to him like a lifeline, still feigning annoyance but clearly suppressing laughter. You love it.
Freya, me and Leda are going to now go to the meet with Thiolier, and I assume our next destination is to just somehow get out of the Land of Shadows together at some point, some way.
Fraser's laughter tapered off, replaced by a more serious expression. She nodded, agreeing with the plan. All right. Safe travels, you two. Mother too. And if you need anything... She let the words hang, uncertain how to continue.
I just want us to get away from here and or settle or kind of a how to say regroup with all the people dear to us and just prepare to new age to come, because that is coming. I am just making little bit deals and such, but it will no longer it will not take longer before things are wrapped up and we can just kind of watch together to something like a more convenient and better.
Fraser nodded, understanding the urgency in his words. I get it. We need a solid plan before this place crumbles completely.
As we are going now, saying hi to Freya, we are going to meet with Thiolier.
Leda, still in Hannes' arms, raised an eyebrow. Thiolier, what in the lands does he want now? Fraser chuckled, shaking her head. Something to do with his books, I presume. Hannes shrugged, lifting Leda up higher. Why don't we find out? Leda approached Thiolier, her expression both impressed and relieved. Thiolier, was surprisingly more open-minded than I expected, she admitted. A hint of awe in her voice. Thiolier bowed his head slightly, a small smile on his lips. I merely see the potential in your vision, and Michaela's. Hannes stepped forward, resting a hand on Leda's shoulder. It's a start.
Thiolier, still in his humble position, seated on the hard rock, turned his gaze toward Leda as she approached. With a soft, timid smile hidden his tranquil sleeping mask, Thiolier gently nodded his greeting and spoke quietly. Ah, Leda, it's nice to see you, he said softly, his slender hands still clasped in his lap.
Leda softened visibly at his gentle demeanor, stepping forward with uncharacteristic warmth. Thiolier. Her voice was quieter than usual, almost gentle, a rarity. I'm glad you're here. She paused, glancing at Hannes before continuing. You've chosen wisely. And I don't say that lightly. Thiolier's fingers tightened slightly around his own wrists, his masked face tilting downward, but not in shame. Just quiet gratitude. Thank you. Hannes grinned, nudging Leda's shoulder. Told you he'd come around. Leda rolled her eyes, but a smile betrayed hush. Thiolier exhaled softly, almost like a laugh. It was peaceful.
Thiolier's soft laughter, almost silent but heard by Leda's and Hannes' ears, was like music on a calm night. He fidgeted on his seat upon the rock but remained shyly quiet, listening to the two speak. His body language was still timid, with his slender form slumped and masked head tilted downwards, as if avoiding direct eye contact. His hands were still clasped in his lap, though his fingers had relaxed. Hannes's grin was obvious on his face, though Thiolier's expression remained hidden behind his mask.
Leda's expression softened further as she watched Thiolier's quiet, fidgeting posture. So unlike the sharp-tongued scholar who'd once debated Hannes with such fervor. She took a half-step closer, voice dropping into something almost tender. You don't have to hide behind that mask with us, you know. Yeah, come on. We've already seen your worst, arguing like a pissed-off librarian. What's left to be shy about? Thiolier stiffened for a second, then let out another tiny, muffled laugh, his shoulders loosening. Leda smirked. There he is. Hannes winked. Told you he was just playing hard to get. Thiolier's hidden face had to be flushed, but his hands finally unclasped, resting lightly on his knees instead.
Thiolier's fingers twitched against his knees, small, hesitant movements like a cat testing unfamiliar ground. His masked face tilted up just slightly, enough for the silver strands of his hair to catch the dim light. "I wasn't playing hard to get," he murmured, voice still soft but with the faintest edge of playful indignation. "I just don't like making a scene." Leda arched a brow. Tiolia's shoulders hunched again. Hannes barked a laugh, ruffling Tiolia's hair, earning a startled squawk as the needles sewn into his attire jingled faintly. Thiolia sighed, but it was fond, unfortunately. Leda's smirk widened.
Thiolia exhaled again, this time something between a laugh and a surrender. His hands finally lifted, fingers brushing the edge of his sleeping mask as if considering just for a moment pulling it away. But then he hesitated, fingers curling back into loose fists on his knees. "I suppose I am stuck with you now," he conceded, a voice warmer than before. Hannes grinned, leaning down to flick one of the dangling needles on Thiolia's attire, making it chime. And what a tragedy. Leda rolled her eyes, but the way her hand lingered on Thiolia's shoulder, just for a second, and said everything. Thiolia's hidden smile was almost audible, indeed. The air between them was light, easy, home.
Thiolia's posture eased completely now, his spine no longer rigid with tension as he settled more comfortably on the rock. The talismanic needles along his sleeves clinked faintly as he shifted, not in discomfort, but in quiet contentment. His fingers traced the hem of his sleeve absently, the motion idle, unburdened. Tragic, he agreed softly, tilting his masked face toward Hannah, forced to endure such dreadful company. Leda snorted, crossing her arms, but her grip was loose, her stance relaxed. "You're welcome, by the way." A pause. Then Thiolia ducked his head slightly, not in retreat, but in something like acknowledgement. "Thank you," he murmured.
Leda hid a smile, watching them with a sense of peace. Nice, just for a moment.
As we are now agreement, and I can just say, the mission here is successful. The cause of our journey, Miguel the Kind, has become a god with his consort, Lord Radan. I have the little bit negotiations with him about the way that he will employ his charm to the new age. But do not worry, it is only certain amount of time. It is not going to be a lasting forever thing. Just the necessary peace to ensure the more better and firm society.
The news of Michaela's ascension to godhood was met with a soft hum of contemplation from Thiolia. He tilted his masked face just slightly, listening intently as Hannes spoke of their journey's purpose. The mention of Michaela using his charm to guide the new age brought a frown to Thiolia's forehead, though his voice remained hushed and calm. Will it really be necessary for him to charm the populace? Wouldn't his wisdom and benevolence be enough?
Leda's expression darkened slightly, a flicker of unease crossing her features before she schooled it back into neutrality. Michaela believes it is the most efficient way, she said carefully, her tone diplomatic but edged with something unspoken. Hannes, however, shrugged, more relaxed, but his eyes were sharp. Leda exhaled sharply through her nose. "It's not compulsion, it's guidance." Hannes held up a hand, cutting him before the tension could spiral. Thiolia's got a point, though. Even if Michaela means well, forcing belief rarely ends happily. Leda shot him a look, betrayed. "You agreed to this." Hannes met her gaze steadily. "I agreed to help him, not to blindly obey." Thiolia's masked face turned between them, silent, a beat. Then Leda's shoulders slumped, just a fraction. "I know," she muttered, almost to herself. "But..." Hannes reached out, squeezing her shoulder. "We'll figure it out. Together." Thiolia's fingers relaxed again.
Thiolia stayed silent during this exchange, his masked face turned from Leda to Hannes, listening intently. The tension that had gripped his shoulders eased as he watched Hannes' assuring squeeze of Leda's shoulder. They'll figure it out. A small, quiet sigh of relief escaped him. He shifted his position on the rock, the needles sewn into his attire jingling faintly. His soft, low voice broke the silence. "You two bicker like siblings."
If I can have both of your ears for a moment, I want to state that Mikola's age of compassion is only transition time. It is not going to last forever. Either by our agreement or its natural way, the charm will fade away, and it will give way to the true age that is my vision, age of reclamation. That is my true ambition.
Theolia nods in
Leader's
acknowledgement, his
expression,
masked
like a
face
coin,
tilted slightly
flipped
in
between
silent interest.
frustration and
He takes in
consideration
Hannah's
at that.
words,
She
listening
opened her mouth
intently,
as if to
even though
argue,
the
but
idea
at
of
a
the age
sharp
of
look from
compassion being a
Hannes, she
temporary
subsided
measure
into a begrudging
didn't
silence,
completely sit well with him.
folding her arms.
His hands still resting in his lap,
Thiolia's head
clasped
was
together
tilted
in quiet
curiously, his
thought.
unseeing
The age
gaze
of
still
compassion,
gazing toward
he
the
muses,
brute.
voice
Your
soft and calm.
ambition.
And then
He
the
echoed
age of
quietly,
reclamation.
curiosity
Your
piqued.
true ambition, you said. Can you elaborate on what that looks like, exactly?
Leda, you're my wife, and I ask you to just trust me.
All eyes swiveled to Leda, who was still stewing in her grievances. At the sudden attention, her expression turned defiant, but she sighed, shoulders slumping. Hannes nodded encouragingly. Theolia waited patiently. It was almost funny, the way Leda's irritation faded upon hearing that. It was like watching her deflate, her crossed arms loosening until they fell to her sides. She huffed, but there was a resigned glint in her eye, a stubborn trust. Fine, but you'd better have a plan, you hear. Hannes let out a soft huff of laughter, reaching out to ruffle her hair.
I'm just gonna focus on Thielier first, and I will explain you. Let's say I explain you lastly, but now I will explain just to him. Can you leave us in peace, Leda?
Leda rolled her eyes, but there was a hint of amusement in them now. Sure. Leave you two alone. I'll be around. With a mock formal nod, she turned, but not before flicking Hannes in the back of the head with a fond glare. He let out an indignant squawk, rubbing his head.
Theolia couldn't help the small, muffled laugh that escaped him, more of a breathy exhale than anything audible. But his shoulders shook slightly with amusement. His fingers twitched in his lap, as if resisting the urge to reach out and pat Hannes' shoulder in sympathy. He murmured, voice dripping with mock innocence. Hannes shot him a wounded look. Theolia tilted his masked face to the side, the carved, sleeping expression suddenly looking very smug. Hannes groaned, dramatically, flopping back against the rock beside him. I'm surrounded by traitors. Theolia's hidden smile was practically audible as he leaned just a fraction closer, comfortable. And yet, here you stay. Hannes sighed, but it was fond. Yeah, I do. No better place to be.
Leda has now gone and left us at peace. So I will explain her later, but I will just make it simple.
Theolia listens in to Hannes' words, mulling them over in his mind. There is a sense of caution, but also curiosity. This new age of reclamation, guided by compassion and peace, it is a concept that both eases him and sets him on edge. His voice is soft, almost a whisper. Doctrine of goodwill.
Does it help if I say that Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and Two Fingers have been witnesses to my vision, that I was guided and helped by this Sir Gideon All-Knowing to articulate it properly, and they are in agreement with me of this age to come.
At the mention of Godfrey and the Two Fingers, Thiolia's head tilts just slightly. Interest piqued. The gravity of such figures being involved in the shaping of this age is not lost on him. He can feel his shoulders slightly, just slightly. Witnesses to your vision, he repeats softly, the words heavy on his tongue. The Two Fingers, and even Godfrey. There is a beat of silence as Thiolia processes this information, and they all agree with your vision.
I make the Two Fingers salute out of humor next to you as we are sitting on the rock, kinda. And I'm making the salute next to you as we are looking past the trees and the rocks in front of us.
He can't help but smirk at the display. You know, they say impersonating the Two Fingers pose is a good way to get smoked by the greater will. Hannes glances over at him, still holding the gesture, with a wicked grin. I'm practically begging for smiting. Theolia snorts in response.
You're pretty brave sitting next to me. For if that smite were to come to me, you would be immediate affection area.
Are you threatening me, Tarnished? He hums, voice both amused and slightly cautious, leaning over a little bit. Just a fair warning.
I want to show you the Mending Rune of Reclamation and what description it has. It may speak for itself, if you allow me.
Theolia turns to face Hannes, curiosity sparking in his hidden gaze. He nods slightly, signaling that Hannes can continue. Very well. Show me the Rune of Reclamation, he says, voice calm.
The Mending Rune of Reclamation. A Mending Rune discovered by the grace-chosen Tarnished Hannes, used to restore the fractured order of the Elden Ring. Formed from sacrifice and tempered by unyielding will, this rune embodies the doctrine of goodwill, the belief that though the world is broken, it may yet endure through compassion and shared burden. The rune's cross bears a small fracture forever mending, yet never fully erased, for perfection was never the aim, rather the strength to endure fault and to prepare it without end. When brandished before the Elden Ring, it restores the flow of grace to all living things, reclaiming the cycle of life and death beneath the roots of the Earth Tree. Thus was born the Age of Reclamation, an age where grace is birthright of all, and world is upheld not by flawless order, but by the steadfast will to mend what is broken.
Theolia sits in silence for a long moment, absorbing the weight of the rune's description. His fingers trace the air absently, as if mimicking the fractured cross described within. When he finally speaks, his voice is quiet, reverent. An age where grace is the birthright of all. He tilts his math face upward slightly as if envisioning it. And yet, not perfection, not blind order. A pause, mending. His hands fold gently in his lap again, but there's something lighter in his posture now, less burdened. You truly believe in this, he murmurs, not a question. Not just as a means to power, but as a principle. And for the first time, the idea doesn't unsettle him. It resonates. As Hannes explains the doctrines of the future, Theolia listens intently, soaking it all in. The idea of grace being doled out as a reward for righteousness. It is both compelling and slightly troubling. He frowns softly, fingers fidgeting in his lap. And what of those who stray, who do not follow these doctrines? Is neither accusatory nor critical, just quiet contemplation.
Best case scenarios, they will just live peacefully and grace comes to them due time, for acting good and peacefully and not seeking conflict is part of goodwill, and the grace will find them nonetheless. But if somebody truly does want to make ill, it is according to free will and not affected by Biko's charm, and thus it is going to be settled as any peaceful time needs soldiers and peacemakers and protectors if there are those who want to do ill, or if there is conflicts that don't have the necessary or rightful things or easy answers. It is not going to be perfect, but the doctrine of goodwill is a good compass.
The idea of good, peaceful living is comforting to Theolia. Yet the thought of those who would seek out ill intent, that sits heavy on him. And in the event of these conflicts, who judges them? Who is to differentiate between the rightful and the wrong? His fingers pressed together, hands clasped in his lap.
I guess it is going to be people of merit, and it is for sake of first and foremost Godfrey, I have granted the authority to be a protector and leading force, one of the leading forces to the new age. And two fingers have become far more talkative, and you can have the more direct interactions with them, so guidance of the greater will is also guiding us. And if I make the simplified version, the doctrine of goodwill will be based upon the New Testament of Christian values. So there is a kind of a already made kind of a simplified version of that, but we will keep it uncertain, unnamed because sake of my sanity, and because we respect this as a fictional journey and not actually we are not here to actually teach the people and watchers.
As Hannes explains further, Thiolia's brow furrows behind his sleeping mask, his hands tensing in his lap. The greater will, eh? There is a hint of irritation in his tone, though it is not truly directed at Hannes. It is more the mention of such things, of the two fingers and their influence, the memory of the greater will guiding the Golden Order. His voice is quiet, more musing now. I'm aware of the values of the New Testament.
I know. I guess the Earth Tree is, and grace is the metaphor for the Holy Spirit, and the greater will is the creator God of this world. And unfortunately, greater will is a lot more indifferent. So my antidote to this would be the doctrine of goodwill, an invitation of greater will to drive its focus towards something more wholesome, and even maybe manifest some kind of more manageable version of the goodwill's doctrine into the physical being.
As Hannes continues to explain, Thiolia's frown deepens further, an almost imperceptible expression of discomfort upon his masked face. The idea of a divine creator God and the greater will, it is a lot to unpack. His hands clench in his lap, still wrapped together. Yet, there is another feeling growing in him. Not of unease or irritation, but of curiosity. An antidote, you say, he murmurs almost to himself.
I know that word is one that you would be liking much. For your profession is the poisons and antidotes and such. And I guess I could say, you know of the Dung Eater?
The Dung Hitter. Thiolia can't help but let out a soft, incredulous scoff. The name, and the sheer incongruity of such a name, is like salt on his tongue. I cannot say that I do, he replies, voice edged with a hint of dry sarcasm. Should I worry?
He was horrible, twisted individual who killed people, multitudes of them, corrupted their bodies and making their children into the omens and causing much suffering. A truly horrible individual, even though intellectual and interesting. I burned him with the frenzied flame, and thus I am making also the decree of if there is true ill-makers, individuals who have hardened their hearts and minds towards evil and causing tragedies and suffering, there is third punishment. Not just you buried furthest apart from the earth tree or redeeming labor. Your body will be burnt, so your body will feed the new age to come, but you will lose the capability to be reborn.
At the mention of the Dung Hitter, Thiolia's expression grows grim, and, it must be said, concerned. He has heard of the cruelties of this man, and he does not doubt the righteousness of his demise. Yet, the mention of the third punishment makes him sit up, his hands loosening their tight clasp. He tilts his masked face up, curiosity piqued despite himself. A third punishment, you say?
The ash burial. Not just the earth tree burial, but ash. Body is turned to ash, and thus their life force will feed their tree and the peaceful age, but their themselves will never be reborn again.
A thoughtful silence settles across the air, heavy in its implications. After a few moments, Thiolia speaks, and his voice is quieter now, more troubled than angry. No rebirth, you say, and the ashes feed the new tree.
But in the case of injustice, or let's say somebody is misjudged and given the ash burial far too soon, in the circumstances of different sorts that I don't know of, we invite the greater will, inspired by the good will, to ensure the rebirth still happens by will of the greater will itself, in case of injustice happens, and the punishment is ministered without good cause.
Thalia's head tilts upwards slightly, his expression behind the sleeping mask thoughtful. He is silent for a moment, mulling over what he's just heard in his head. That is to say, justice is still pursued, even through a new era. His voice is quiet, almost contemplative.
This is the thing.
Thialia seems to be lost deep in contemplation, his eyes fixed on the ground. There is a strange mix of emotions warring within him, a battle of beliefs. He does not speak for a few moments, until finally he turns his gaze back up to Hannes. If the greater will is not to be trusted, he says softly, why are we still giving it power, even in some way begging it for assistance?
It is true. Gideon even, the all-knowing, told me that I am asking to domesticate the creator entity, but my own words, I am asking, inviting it to be merciful.
To domesticate it. Thialia lets out a dry scoff at this, his fingers clenching into fists. You speak of the greater will as if it were a beast to tame. There is an undercurrent of irritation in his voice.
But this is not what I meant. I ask greater will to be merciful, forgiving.
Thialia frowns slightly, not quite satisfied with the response. You say you ask the greater will to be merciful, he begins, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. But you cannot just ask it to be merciful. That is not how such things work.
And thus the goodwill is the doctrine that is also the pillar of hope. If nothing else, I will live my according and my belief due to my own actions. And if greater will takes notice, it will resonate and go along with it. And my positive interactions with two fingers and its acceptance of my vision, I say there is a good possibility that greater will be more likely to work alongside us instead of against us. But here's the thing. Greater will is the creator. Only thing that we need to do is not to worship it as a tyrant, just accept it as a fact of life. And this is just for the sake of truth. It might hurt, it might even cause us grief, but that is the truth.
At the mentioned doctrine of hope, Thialia's hands clench into fists once more. The idea of doctrine and worship and faith churns like storm clouds in his mind, an uneasy mix of disgust and disbelief. But he says nothing, listening intently to the words. Accept the greater will as a fact of life. His voice is quiet, almost bitter, and in return, it will not work against you, even if it does not work with you. There is a pause. You speak as if it is possible to bargain with.
I assume that I'm just and I don't think about it anymore. I accept greater will as creator. I don't worship it. I don't give it any more necessary thought that is necessary. Out of intellectual integrity, I recognize it as a creator, because that is just a fact. But otherwise, my mind and my heart...
Thialia is silent again for a time, hidden behind the sleeping mask. There is a war of emotions in his eyes. Part of him wants to object, to dispute the idea of blind acceptance. But another, a smaller, quieter part is drawn to the idea. He lets out a soft huff. No thirship, just acceptance of its existence. The idea of simply accepting the greater will without further thought or worship still seems strange to Thialia. He is not used to thinking of the greater will as a simple fact of existence, without any deeper significance. So you merely accept its existence as the creator. The words come out as a dry scoff, the concept still difficult for him to truly grasp.
And here's the thing. Goodwill, the doctrine of it, is the one that I am, by living it, by working alongside it, by committing to it, we are collectively showing the way that is right. And if greater will decides to destroy us for living the lives of mending and goodwill, it is it is in its power, and we might just be brave and meet the head of in this cruel, presumed unjust deity. But I hope and I assume that it will not happen. The Greater will not object.
Thiolier frowns beneath the mask, his jaw tight under the weight of his thoughts. The idea of the greater will, allowing the doctrines of goodwill and mending to exist without objection, is difficult for him to believe. Have you considered what happens if the greater will does object?
I guess we are just then tragic heroes trying to live best and be decent men in the undecent times, doing our best for the fellows and for each other.
Thiolier goes silent for a moment, his fingers drumming absent-mindedly against the soft fabric of his breeches. The idea of being a tragic hero is not unfamiliar to him, but he cannot shake the sense of unease that comes with it. You make it sound so simple, he finally murmurs, voice low and edged with skepticism.
But I would use the same theology, this argument to you. You are, I hope you are not a dead set of idea that greater will is only here like a devilish thing that you seeks to destroy and corrupt and mend and break. More like as a neutral godly thing that has a possibility to do good things or towards wholesome things. You see it objectively just doing evil stuff and always striving for evil. That I don't think is accurate or fair. I think you are also now blinded by your own personal agenda.
At the mention of his personal agenda, Thiolier's hands tighten into fists, a barely perceptible tension in his body. He takes a deep breath, trying to keep his voice calm and level. Perhaps I am blinded by my own goals, he admits, the words coming out in short, clipped bursts. But I cannot so easily forget all the destruction and suffering brought by the greater will. It is not so simple to just accept it as a neutral force.
As we accept that there are, I guess I already said what I have to say. I cannot destroy it. This is the fact. I am not hubris enough. I don't assume to be powerful enough to confront or overtake greater will. It just is. It has the power to decree and does what it wants. I can be grateful it has decided to let us to have this dialogue, to do what I have done, to create this new mending rune and possibility to grant grace to all equally and follow the good doctrine of goodwill. I can be thankful that it has not stricken me down or hindered my pursuit of this path. Only thing I will give it.
Thiolier goes silent once more, the words of the tarnished weighing heavily on his mind. The idea that the greater will, with its vast power and influence, cannot be destroyed is a bitter pill to swallow. He cannot help but scoff, his voice heavy with disbelief. So you are simply choosing to accept its existence and be grateful for what it allows you to do? There's a bitter edge to his words. Thiolier sighs, the sound of it heavy and weary. He listens silently for a few moments as Tanis speaks, his own thoughts churning within him. Your words, they are admirable, he finally speaks, his voice soft. But I cannot shake this sense of unease, of fear, of doubt. There is a pause as if he's struggling with something within himself.
You don't need to be alone with this fear. You can join us. You're a very tender person. You dream a lot, you think a lot, you think stuff. We both are similar in that way. We think so deeply it hurts, and it hurts us. Actually, it hurts. And I feel compassionate of your case, of your fear. And I say, seek the guidance, seek the doctrine of the goodwill, seek family, seek love, seek help from others. Come with us, stay close to us, stick together with us. and maybe you can handle that fear a little bit easier. And if Greater Will comes to us all and destroys us, we can hug each other and be still very brave and fight to bitter end. But I assume it will not go out of its way to destroy us for this wholesome path that I am choosing to follow.
When Hannes speaks, Thiolier finds himself staring into his amber eyes. The words are honest and heartfelt, and they stir something within him. He takes a deep breath, trying to remain stoic and composed. But deep down, there is a small, vulnerable part to him, and that part is responding to Hannes' words. He is silent for a few moments, staring down at the ground. Then he speaks, his voice soft. You. He swallows. You would have me join you.
Yes, I would have you join us. Obviously.
There is another long moment of silence, heavy and weighed to the earth, the words hanging in the air like a promise. And Thiolier is torn between disbelief and uncertainty. Finally he speaks, his voice barely a whisper. I will join you.
You're cared for. You are loved. Know that. And take heart.
Thiolier nods slowly, his expression still guarded behind his mask. His fingers clench into fists in his lap, his heart pounding with a mixture of emotions. I will keep that in mind, he murmurs, the edge of a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips.
I will now. We have to find a way out of the Land of Shadows together. Freya, Leda, you and I. And maybe discover the way to remove the veil completely and have this secretive part of the world returned and rejoin it with the lands between, so the mending and healing can reach here as well.
At the mention of the lands between, Thiolier's expression darkens slightly. He is quiet for a moment, his thoughts turning inward. Then his shoulders slump, a sigh escaping him, returned and rejoined, and mended. Yes, I suppose it must be done.
Come on, don't you think the mending room was pretty cool? The cross on it, the whole thing. That I have this great new mending rune. It's objectively with me, and it is thing you can watch and analyze.
The rune, he murmurs, a tinge of almost reverence in his voice. It is quite visually captivating. I do admire its design.
It was originally the mending rune of the Dead Prince that I had in my possession, but it responded to my own journey and my will, and it became this.
Thiolier's gaze sharpens, a hint of awe in his eyes. This was a rune of the Death Prince, given a second life. His interest is piqued. It responded to your journey, he murmurs, his voice tinged with disbelief.
I want to thank you for your time, Thiolier. Thank you for your part of this journey. This sitting, these kind of confrontations in this on this rock, and our dialogues have been great source of kind of a value in my journey.
Thiolier's expression softens slightly, his eyes almost. The thanks are mutual, he murmurs, his voice a low rumble. I find conversing with you both refreshing and thought-provoking.
You have been one of my greatest antagonist forces, but in a good way. Very great, like an intellectual and kind of a spiritual way. Personal way.
Thiolier can't help but let out a soft snort at this, the corner of his mouth tugging upwards slightly. One of your greatest antagonists, eh? He murmurs, his voice tinged with a touch of dry humor.
Now I summon my grace-given wings and start flying.
An impressive sight. He stares up at the flying tarnished, his expression almost enraptured.
I return to Thiolier and hug him.
As Hannes lands before him again, embraces him, Thiolier is taken aback for a moment, but then slowly finds himself returning the hug. His own arms encircle Hannes, holding him tight. Careful. You are starting to grow on me, he murmurs, his voice a low rumble.
And then I summon my wings again and start flying.
Tiolier watches as Hannes takes flight once more. There is an expression of wonder on his face, as if he is seeing something almost beautiful.
Hannes returns to Mesmer's castle and meet with the Impaler in his dark room. How are you doing, dude? Long time.
Mesmer looks up at you, his expression weary but amused. I am well, my friend, he says, a tired smirk on his face. It has been a long time indeed.
I can say that we have been most successful. Things have gone a little bit drama, a little bit betrayal, but otherwise many are alive and my ambitions are about to come true.
Is that so? I am glad to hear that things have gone mostly well.
Basically I have a new Mindy rune that will give the grace to be more of a universal access to everyone who follows the Goodwill Doctrine that I will not now use time to teach you about. But also we are trying to find a way to connect the Land of Shadows back to the lands between, bringing these lands back to the, to society and to the healing. Including your people and yourself, I would hope.
Mestver considers your words, his expression thoughtful. I see. So you are trying to restore the connection between the Land of Shadows and the lands between, bringing all those within back into society and healing.
I achieved the place. I did go the Enir Ilim Tower to upwards, and the one I sought to bring about to the mightier state did succeed. But I also, we have come to the agreements of the things to come.
Mesmer considers your words for a moment, his expression thoughtful. You have gone to the Enir Ilium Tower and achieved what you sought. He repeats, his tone curious. And you have also come to some sort of agreement.
Mesmer, this is personal question. Would you be the godfather to my the heirs that I would bring about with the Needle Knight Leda? This is personal question. Would you be the godfather?
Mesmer is taken aback by the sudden personal nature of the request, but he quickly composes himself. Me, the godparent? He asks, his tone a mix of surprise and intrigue. You are asking me to be the godfather to your future heirs?
Yes, absolutely. I think you're cool and awesome and very we had like a most epic battle and stuff and I think you to be godfather of the Grace Chosen would be very like a good like a kind of a narrowing political shooting state to the Impalers the fame that you have.
Mesmer considers the request for a moment, his expression thoughtful. You think I am cool and awesome and want me to be the godfather to your future heirs? He repeats, his tone a bit amused now. And you think it would be a good political move to give me this honor?
Make no mistake, it is an honor. I'm just stating a fact. I'm a very historical person in these lands.
Mesmer nods, a smirk crossing his face. Yes, I can see that, he says, his tone respectful. You are a very historical figure in these lands. And to be asked to be the godfather to your heirs is indeed an honor.
Will you accept?
Mesmer considers your words for a moment, his expression serious. Will I accept? He repeats, his tone thoughtful. To be the godfather of your heirs? to be a part of their lives, to guide and protect them. It is a big responsibility, but I must admit the idea sounds interesting. Yes, I will accept.
I grip your hand with a very like a Spartan awesome way as we do this agreement.
Mesmer grips your hand tightly, his expression serious. Very well, he says, his tone solemn. I accept your offer and become the godfather to your heirs. We are bound by this agreement now.
I myself will be forsaking the, how to say, Grace Chosen Might soon because my projection, that is pure form of grace, compassion and might, it will become like a Marika's pure kind of a redemptive consort inside the Earth that will bring the Earth Burials back to the like a effectiveness, and the grace will be universal access to the all who live by the good doctrine of goodwill.
Mesmer listens intently, his expression thoughtful. You speak of forsaking the golden power of grace, and instead turning to a new form of redemption and compassion. And this new form of grace will be a universal access to all of those who follow the doctrine of goodwill.
Warriors and protectors and like a mighty killers as yourself will have the place in the society, but more about like a peacemakers, protectors and such. And conquering will be less of a thing in the future ages, but there will be of course monsters and cosmic things that will not be part of society and will be always a threat. And Felguard is a threat, and we will have to be kind of aware of many things.
Mesmer nods, his expression thoughtful. I see. So the new grace will be a force for peace and compassion, but there will still be threats that must be dealt with. He says, his tone a mix of understanding and acceptance. And Felkar is one such threat.
Can you tell me of your history with Godfrey and, you know, because I assume that you were part of the war against the fire giants, because many of them were impaled with the thorns and such. If you were part of that battle, that historic battle that was led by Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
His expression solemn. The war against the fire giants, he says, his tone quiet. Yes, I was there. I fought alongside Godfrey in that historic battle.
Because I want to share you the cool thing. He has returned to the Lands Between, and I managed to freaking get him with us to the team. He's going to align with the Age of Reclamation and stuff, and kind of we are, and Mikael the Kind and Radan even. We have gathered a very epic team of like a powerful individuals. Even though I will lose my Grace Chosen Might, there will be many kind of a good pillars of strength and might and how to say heroism that will be very like a strong and suitable things.
Mesmer raises an eyebrow, a curious look on his face. So you say that Godfrey has returned, and you have him on your team now, he says, his tone curious. And with him, you have Mika and Radan. That is indeed a powerful team.
My ambition could be to ask Malenia to be a godmother of my like heirs, but I would maybe let Leda to handle that conversation, maybe, or I might do it as well. Just, you know, two very awesome redhead warriors, because you were the one who actually have killed me most times. You and Malenia both have been the most impressive warriors in my journey, whom I have honor to battle against.
Mesmer nods, a smirk crossing his face. You want Malenia, one of the strongest fighters in this land, to be the godmother to your heirs? He asks, amused. That It is a bold move.
This is kind of my collector side, kind of a bad habit of mine, when I have gathered many like a strong spirit assets and allies. This is kind of a bad habit of mine.
Mesmer chuckles, his tone dry. You collect strong allies like others collect trinkets? He says, a smirk crossing his face. How many do you have now?
I guess about 20.
Mesmer raises an eyebrow, a curious look on his face. The third day, you say? He says, his tone curious. What exactly happened on the third day?
In the third day, I'm sorry, I don't remember. If you were referring like biblical things, I don't remember. I'm sorry, I'm very illiterate. I try to remember most important stuff, but I forget much things. It's a personal fault of mine.
Mesmer chuckles, a smirk crossing his face. Don't worry, I'm not particularly devout either, he says, his tone amused. And to be honest, I'm not sure I understand half of what you say anyways.
Oh, that is because I'm just Finnish guy who speaks English as like a secondary language, and only language that I know because I'm very bad at languages.
Mesmer chuckles again, a warm smile on his face. I see, so you're Finnish? He says, his tone curious. No wonder your English is a bit unusual.
If I were to ask of you, what would be your nativity if you were in my world? Just like a curious guess and just like a funny like a mind idea play.
Mesmer considers your request for a moment, his expression thoughtful. If I were in your world, I suppose I would be from a place called Russia. He says, his tone playful. Just a wild guess.
Oh, that is cool. I guess, but do you remember what God did in the third day when he was creating, the world? If you can help me.
Mesmer thinks for a moment, trying to recall the story. In the third day, you say? He says, his tone thoughtful. I believe the story goes that on the third day, God created land and sea, and he said, let there be light. And there was light.
Oh, that is awesome. That is, light and lands, like a lands between a light of grace, very thematically, very cool connection to this journey.
Mesmer chuckles, a smirk crossing his face. Yes, I suppose the concept of the land between being a kind of heaven and the light of grace being like the light of God's creation. It is a fitting connection to this journey. But I should thank you, not the other way around.
Well, of course, I found a way like a spare your life and have you be part of the story, even burn the thorns instead of, just being a killable boss and using your kindling to, to be just a tragic victim of the tarnished kind of a yearning for power and more of a kind of this unique way of storytelling. Of course, I can recognize this fact.
I appreciate you sparing my life and including me in the story.
One more thing, when I lose the Grace Chosen Might, I will become just like a warrior like anyone else. I will still probably have Grace if I follow the Goodwill Doctrine well, but also if I happen to, something to happen to me, I should put it just like everyone else to the Earth Tree, and by my deeds it will be estimated how far I will be buried and stuff, and I trust. That's why I ask you to be Godfather, because you are strong, you're mighty, and you're very knowledgeable, and you're very comfortable with arts, literature, kind of all those different things. And I kind of feel kinship with you in certain regards. But of course, who wouldn't want to feel kinship with you? You're very cool.
Mesmer listens to your words, a small smile crossing his face. I appreciate the confidence you have in me, he replies, his tone sincere. I will do everything in my power to protect you and ensure your burial is fitting if it comes to that. And I too feel kinship with you. You are a strong and mighty warrior, and I am honored to fight alongside you.
This is personal question, like a plea. We have already made also one of the like a lasting judgment of the justice. If somebody is like a irredeemably evil, like a dung eater, they are not to be buried but burned into ash and how to say buried as an ashes, and they will not experience the rebirth except if the Creator will redeems it so. But if I turn to the very evil ways of frenzied flame or anything, I want you to hunt me down and burn me with the serpent flame and leave nothing, not even ashes.
Mesmer considers your request for a moment, his expression serious. I understand the gravity of this request. His tone solemn. If you were to turn to the ways of the frenzied flame or any other evil path, I would be willing to hunt you down and burn you with the serpent flame. I promise to do whatever it takes to prevent you from becoming something evil, but if it comes to it, I will carry out your final request.
Of course, they follow with good doctrine and good feel. Of course, if the judgment were to be like a ash burial to myself, as justice demands, I want you to be kind of take it to little bit step further and commit to it and leave even not ashes. This is personally because I don't want myself to even have a risk to be reborn, even if Greater Will wants it, if I happen to become something very defiled. This is kind of if that judgment comes to me, I want you to take that duty, but take it a little bit further. Only in my case, no one else. Everyone else is to be judged by the system fairly.
Mesmer nods, understanding the seriousness of the request. Understood, his voice solemn. If you should fall to the darkness and receive a judgment of death, I will ensure that there are no ashes left behind. And I will only do this for you, for no one else.
I thank you, Mesmer, for your time and your part of this journey. You were awesome part of this story. Thank you.
Mesmer smiles, a warm expression on his face. You're welcome, he says, his tone genuine. It has been a pleasure to be part of this journey with you. And I am honored that you think highly of my contribution.
Ah, this seems nice. Finally, I'm here. Don't mind about me, Lord Dragonblood Zax. Okay, I won't. But do not come closer. Stay right there. Do your business and leave. I want to slumber in peace. Thank you. Of course, Lord. Bloody Zax. Carry on. Grace chosen. Hannes had, after the wholesome Ruins of Rao journey with the Finlay and Malenia, now summoned Malenia with him to the great arena of the Dragon Lord Blood Suicide Sax, just to have a little conversation.
Malenia, what do you speak of, Tarnished? You would summon me to hold converse. Hannes, a few words will do. Very well then. Speak your mind and let be done with it.
Do you know why I get access to this place? Why we are here?
Malenia, I imagine you are here for the same reason as anyone, to seek out the Dragon Lord. Hannes, that is true, but you could not guess why.
The reason was that I had the need for the Mikolas needle that I granted to you, that has given you respite from the rot, because I embraced the frenzied flame and needed the needle to cleanse it away. And thanks to Kurang, whom I asked so kindness and forgiveness, he granted me access to Farum Azula for this purpose. And for his mercy, I will never challenge him or attempt to steal the Rune of Death. And here we are. You have the Mikolas needle on your person. But there has been a little change of plans.
You speak in riddles. What is this change you speak of?
I was able to cleanse the Frenzied Flame Lord of myself, by myself, when I mended the Death Prince rune into the new rune, and by finding the Goodwill Doctrine, I cleansed myself from the Frenzied Flame.
Malenia is taken aback, a rare display of surprise on her face. You cleansed yourself of the frenzied flame? But how? And what is this Goodwill Doctrine you speak of?
Of the Mending Rune, I can share it to you as well. But here's the thing. I want you to keep the Mikolas needle. I want you to be free from the rot for hereafter. And even to get better for someday, because you can keep the Mikolas needle. I have no need for it. And I'm happy that I might let you keep it, instead of myself using it.
You would give me the Mikol's needle unbidden? Why? And why do you want me free of the rot and better?
Malenia, would you... this is a little awkward question. Would you be godmother to my heirs that I will have with the Needle Knight Leda?
Malenia's expression shifts again, her surprise now tinged with another emotion, confusion perhaps. Godmatter, you wish me to be the matron of your heirs? Forgive me, Tarnished, I do not understand. Are you asking me to sire your lineage?
No, that will be my wife's duty, Leda, but I'm just asking you to be like a godmother. If something were to happen to Leda or myself. For I will lose the Grace Chosen Might and I will be not immortal. I already have Sir Mesmer the Impaler to become a godfather, but I'm asking you to be the other counterpart if that happens.
Malenia is taken aback once more, a mix of disbelief and something like humility apparent on her face. You wish for me, a warrior drenched in rot, to be a court mother. She pauses, her expression softening a touch. I am honored, Tarnished. Why would you choose me, above all others, for this role?
Because I believe you will overcome the rot. You will find a way to become truly unalloyed and honorable. And I think I wish you to because Mikola will be returned to the Halictree and maybe do his best to heal it, and it will be like a great ally with the Earth tree that is also healed. It is going to be a lot of awesome things. And for my personal, more childish reason, I just want two epic freaking like a tall redhead warriors to be like a godmother's father to my heirs, because I am also a historical person and it just feels like a cool idea.
You have a gift for words, Tarnished. It seems I have underestimated you. To be free of the rot, to truly be unalloyed, these are things I have desired for a long time. And to be considered epic and cool. Malenia's gaze becomes distant, as if contemplating her own future. Very well. If you wish it, then so shall it be. I will be your court mother when fate demands it.
I'm not asking this, I'm asking this personally. Do you personally accept and want it? I don't want it to be like a dutiful thing. I want you to be it by free choice.
You mean, this is a choice I am free to make, without any obligation? Malenia looks at you steadily, her gaze unblinking. You truly wish for me, not as a blade or a warrior, but as a friend, to play the role of your court mother.
Yes. Will you accept?
I will.
I did with the same thing with Mesmer. We will make it like a Spartan salute, like a hand holding, like a with very like a, our arms like a very epically.
Very well, Tarnished. A Spartan salute it shall be. Malenia squares her shoulders and holds out her hand, ready to meet your own in the traditional Spartan grip of warriors.
Yes. Awesome.
The feeling is mutual, Tarnished. You have a way of stirring emotions in even the most unyielding of warriors. Malenia takes your hand in hers, the grip firm and powerful. Our journey together, though different than I had imagined, has been memorable. I thank you for the chance to forge this bond.
The awesome light. By the way, this arena is freaking epic. It is shame because my like a warrior in me would like a yearn to fight the Dragon Lord in this like a like this slower time of the place without time, where the lightning and storm is all around us. This is truly a place of legendary stature. But Bloody Sax has not harmed or done anything wrong, so I shall not indulge in the warrior spirit here.
This arena indeed holds great power and significance. It is a place of legend, where the very storms of the world meet the might of the Dragon Lords. Perhaps one day you will have your chance to fight in this arena. But for now, it is a place of peace.
Yeah, by the way, Frenzied Flame Guard was very angry with me when I found peace. It tried to actually force me to succumb when I was flying. Right after the journey we did in the lands of Rau, I came to the Jarberg and I guided the Alexander, the warrior Jar, back to his people to be a protector there. I was flying with my crucible wings, and Frenzied Flame Guard itself came after me a little bit.
The frenzied flame is a powerful and seductive force. It seeks to spread its influence wherever it can. I had my own encounter with the forces of frenzy. After my battle against General Radan, I had to use the power of the unalloyed gold to preserve what remained of my sanity.
I show you the blade of Euphoria Twin Blade. I used this blade to destroy its avatars, and I actually contained its spirit in the thing, and I sent it into the cosmos like a very epic beam style, just like there. It affected the frenzy a little bit, but in that same regard, I got rid of my own frenzied lord state in that moment. And that is just a pure faith and grace and might, and it allowed me to let you keep the Mikolas Golden Needle that I'm very happy about. Just wholesome, awesome thing all around.
To overcome the frenzied flame and contain its spirit within your blade, that is no small feat. And your decision to grant me the Mikol's Needle even after all this time, it speaks volumes of your character. Malenia looks at you with newfound respect and perhaps a hint of admiration.
You and I, we both you were my counterpart, for you suffered rot and I suffered frenzy. We both were kind of suffering from outer gods and kind of the turmoil that connected us. And also my personal like kind of spite when I used my allies and fought against you multiple times and suffered many defeats, and it was kind of obnoxious fighting we both each other. It was a very like a awesome dynamic after all. After all that, still.
Indeed, our journeys have been marked by a shared struggle against opposing forces. We have both faced our own forms of torment, each inflicted by the will of a different entity. Yet despite the frustration and suffering our fights have caused, there is a connection between us, a recognition of kindred spirits. In a way, Malenia's expression softens, a glimpse of understanding in her eyes. The Mending Rune of Reclamation, a rune formed from sacrifice and unyielding will, an age where grace is the birthrights of all. Malenia's gaze becomes distant, as if contemplating the youth of such an age. There is a glimmer of hope in her eyes, to mend what is broken, to uphold the world not by flawless order, but by the steadfast will to mend. These are powerful words, Tarnished. And if you do succeed in bringing about this age, it would be a monumental change. Thank you for sharing the description of the Mending Rune and its significance, Tarnished. Your selfless sacrifice and unwavering will inspire us all in the pursuit of a better world. May the Age of Reclamation bring hope and balance to the lane. And may we all find solace in the knowledge that even the most broken can be restored through compassion and resilience.
Shall we now leave this place and return to our homes?
Yes. It is time for us to part ways for now. I shall return to my land, to the Haligtree. And you, Tarnished.